and social welfare programs to lift people out of poverty. We now stand at a tipping point, so we must address the devastating consequences of these injustices now. We have to prioritize the needs and demands of the 140 million people suffering each day from poverty and truly build from the bottom up. From housing to health care to welfare, water, education, you know all of the issues which are laid out in this resolution. And so we're calling on Congress and the Biden administration to develop a legislative framework to realize a third Reconstruction to fully address poverty and low wages from the bottom up. And so, yes, we do need this third Reconstruction to revive our moral and political commitments to democracy and the founding principles of the country. And so I just want to say to all of those who have been involved with the hearings and town meetings of millions around the country with Reverend Theo, bottom up. And so, yes, we do need this third Reconstruction to revive our moral and political commitments to democracy and the founding principles of the country. And so I just want to say to all of those who have been involved with the hearings and town meetings of millions around the country with Reverend Theo Harris and Bishop Barber, we hear you, we see you, and just know you have elected officials here in the House of Representatives, and I know in the Senate, who are going to listen and take your voice into these legislative bodies and do the right thing and move with a vengeance, because we know that we are in a state of emergency. And so now let me bring forth our partner, who is such a tremendous leader on so many issues, our chair of the Progressive Caucus, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lee. I think everyone knows I wouldn't be in Congress probably except for Congresswoman Lee showing her bravery and courage around the war in Iraq back in the early 2000s. So thank you for your championing, for your leadership of the Progressive Caucus, and for raising poverty long before anybody else talked about it and insisting that we talk about it. So I love Barbara Lee for me, as she does for so many people. Barber, to Reverend Liz Theo Harris, to all the millions of people who make up the movement for the poor. Struggle to the forefront. So proud to be your partners in elevating the faces, the lives, and the people whose suffering can and must be addressed with real action right here in Congress. Yesterday on the floor, when I spoke about this resolution, I reminded people that Mahatma Gandhi, a great leader in nonviolence, said that allowing poverty is the worst form of violence. And let me be clear, poverty exists because we allow it to exist. In the wealthiest country in the world, 140 million people are poor because we have allowed it to be so. We have turned our eyes from the suffering of families who do not have enough to eat, from the 32 million Americans who don't even earn $15 an hour, from the 87 million who are uninsured or underinsured, from the structural racism that is built into every one of our institutions, but also the classism that has left behind millions of people who feel unseen and unheard. And as Representative Lee said, the pandemic only shined a bright light on the inequities that existed a long time before, but don't forget, even before the pandemic hit, 60% of Americans didn't even have $400 in their bank account for an emergency. But my friends, let us not forget that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is enough. It's enough. Poor people in this country just are demanding that they have enough to thrive. And that is why we're introducing this resolution for a third Reconstruction, fueled from the bottom up, that lights the fire of justice for all. Eradicating poverty is about choices. We allow poverty to continue when we make the choice to spend hundreds of billions on military spending instead of investing in giving enough to the poorest among us. We allow poverty to continue when the richest 130,000 people in America hold nearly as much wealth as the bottom 117 million people combined. When 55 of the largest corporations paid not even $1 in taxes last year. When we let our healthcare system be focused on profits instead of patients. when we do nothing to address white supremacy and anti-blackness, when medical and student debt in this country cripples the dreams of the future for tens of millions of people, when 100 million Americans can't find a playground or a green space within 10 minutes of their home, when Indigenous, Black, Brown, and low-income communities lack access to safe drinking water or clean air. That we all have enough. And so even as we improve the American Jobs and Families Plan and make sure that it is big, bold, and fast,